What is up? My name is, well, it is not that of a thing, you know? Absolutely. And yet, this is another episode of Pancake Marathon, to where this is, Pancake Marathon. It's, I don't even know. I'm not too sure what will I talk about today. What will I not talk about today? Does anyone ever know what they're going to talk about? Is that really even a thing? In a sense, I guess I could highlight that of perseverance, because that's kind of something I thought about today, simply to say, about persevering in and of itself. How do you persevere? What does that even mean, right? Especially when you're so downstraught, stricken with what fear of I don't even know. Maybe I guess it's in a sense of saying it's simply your alcoholism is kicking in, right? Who knows? You know, and what is probably a simple definition of alcoholism? And at this moment, until I find one more adequate, in a sense of saying, and that appears to be the next moment in what, a spiritual awakening, an aha moment, a moment of clarity. I kept my house in order, so now some kind of work I put in is gonna put itself to the door of the messenger that's knocking at the door. Oh, to what measures does someone keep going? Is that even a thing, right? Is it? Is it really truly a thing to keep on going? Do you find balance in aspects of life where you just stop? You just don't? You just let it happen if you let it happen? And then do you let it happen? Probably, in a simple way of saying maybe, and maybe not. It's up to you, right? No one ever said you have to do this and meant it. In the sense of, like if you are not putting someone in danger, or right, in a simple way of saying, you know, then what are you doing wrong? What are you doing wrong? Oh, you didn't meet society's standards? Oh no. Let's just all end the day and start over, right? Because that's basically kind of what you would maybe need to do and get to do. Maybe. Just maybe. Because I know I will raise my hand every single time when somebody asks me, is it okay to be incompetent in society sometimes? Yeah, I definitely say yes. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's points to where I had to persevere through that. I recall, like, oh my gosh, the very first time, in a sense of saying, when I don't even recall what it was. I don't even recall what it was. Something with the court where I got put on unsupervised probation, basically. And man, that drive back to basically house or whatever it may be, whoa, I was angry. I was more than angry. I was more than angry. Man, whoa. If I could punch some glass because the car window, whatever, I probably wouldn't have done it. Why? What did that glass do to me, for one? Probably nothing. There's points. To the simple fact of oh, if that's what rage is, whoa. Because I felt so horrible inside. Like, deep down, I knew something was wrong. I knew something was wrong. It was wrong. It was wrong. Absolutely. Sure, we can say the whole, oh, I went against the contract of things. Okay. There's points. Okay. And yet going to a point where, highlighting of why is it okay to be incompetent in society sometimes? Well, um, mm, let's talk about when the we can say, a police officer, a pig, a person in government, basically, um, you know, like doesn't walk out of the way, and they just stand there, and then you don't know that they're there, right? Simply to say, and you bump into them because they don't move, right? And you don't know that they're there, and you're going through stuff, simply to say, to a simple fact of the matter that then, you just assaulted a police officer. And it's like, oh my gosh, are you serious? I just assaulted you when you could have moved, right? And then it's like, from that standpoint, did you really do anything wrong? Mm, there's points, of saying, that it truly, just from that scenario, right? Just from that thing right there, I would say, yeah, it's okay to be incompetent in society. Absolutely. And sure, we can even break it or bring it to a point of, what a de jure would do, the facts, you know, DA space jury, right? We can simply say, that's why, um, in a simple way of saying, that's why judges are practicing the law. Whatever would be construed, or in a sense of reality, misconstrued as the law, in a simple way of saying, they rely on a jury to perfect the law, people, basically, simply to say and actually what it is. And yet, it comes to that simple fact, of where I'm going with this is of persevering through all of that, right? And and in a simple way to finish the thought, it comes to of how somebody could be quite literally they could have killed somebody in the courtroom, right? Okay, or on video or whatever, right? Or whatever it may be, you know. And then that's the trial is what it's about on that point. And then it's up to the jury to persevere, basically, because no one's going to come save them. Because, the judge doesn't have to tell the jury, oh, well, you don't have to do anything I say. You don't have to follow the law of what is construed as, you know, in the sense of saying the reality of the situation, misconstrued, but in the agreed upon societal aspects, construed, and considered as law, basically, of yeah, that's what a jury would do. They would perfect it. They would perfect the law to say, this law is inadequate. And yet, it's about persevering, finding hope, right? In every dire situation. And so, yeah, I know it might seem like it's a whole political aspect in things. It really, really does. Who, where, what not, And it's, all the other parts of this podcast's episodes are all recovery based. This is still recovery based. This is living life on life's terms. And just because you can't per se find the relatability in this, the words of what came before, okay, and so what? What is the difference? In the difference of everyone has a different experience and something to give, right? Isn't that just the whole means of, is it, I don't recall which recovery flavor it is that highlights it, that we would not be hanging out with each other, right? I think it's AA. Yet I don't really call it this moment because it doesn't really matter of what recovery flavor it is. Did you find a peace of mind? Did you find God? Got off of drugs? Go outdoors? Got out? Got, I'm trying to say got away from the disease, but I know that's not God, right? Of the acronym. Yet, got over disease, right? I'm just saying, I'm attempting here, right? And so, or we can say got over the disease, right? Because usually they don't highlight of or the in the things of acronyms, right? And yet, simply to say, it that dis-ease, you're at a point of not being in ease, you're at dis-ease, and so it persevering to find a way of unity and giving away freely, that's a lot, right? And another reason why I want to talk about, perseverance in the, perseverance and why I want to talk about that is because, one of my sponsees is on the fourth step, right? The inventory part. And they're like, I really don't want to do the inventory. I really don't. And you know what I said? Because I'm not here to control them. I'm not. What do I? Why? Why? What gives me the right to control anybody? I don't have the right to do that. That's not a leader. And that is not a trusted servant to carry a message. That's the only right, in a sense, of recovery that anyone has to do, in a sense. And keeping it very simple. I'm not, as a sponsor, I'm not here, in a sense, to, hunt people down. I'm not. I mean, I've done it before. Oh my goodness. I persevered from going to the extreme, in a sense of saying, to where I'm at now. To where when I started sponsoring, oh my goodness, I gave them a folder. I gave them a notebook. I would have gave them a pen, but always they had that. I gave them printouts. I gave them paper protectors. My steps essentially are digitalized, so they can always have access to them. Because who am I to control when they want it, when they don't? Right? If they want it, I'm not going to stop them. Absolutely not. That's crazy. It really would be, wouldn't it? Is that really living life in life's terms? I don't care if my sponsor, how they sponsored me. They see me once a week. Well, okay, they have a life, and they pretty much went way out of their way, right? More than 5 minutes of a traveling time to come and sponsor every single time they see me, basically. And yet, and if I didn't text them every day or every other day because I forgot, there's points, right? I mean, seriously, they wanted me to text them every day. Every week, I had to have that step done. Simply to say, absolutely, and then go from there. Yet, I don't sponsor the same as my sponsor does. I don't. Why? You gotta read the room. Live life on life's terms. And so that sponsee that was like, I don't want to do the fourth step inventory. I'm like, okay. Who says you had to? What? The AA World Service based around the AA book? That works for them. That doesn't mean it works for you. Okay. You're not AA. You're not the face of AA. Okay. You are the face of your recovery, but you're not the face of that recovery program. You're not. Tradition 6 states it very plainly of why, right? Yet that's my interpretation of that, right? Any outside enterprise, facility, or organization Okay. Oh, you know, oh, that doesn't sound like it's for the people. And I say people because I know it takes one people to make a group of people, right? I know there's a difference of persons and people, individuals and people. There's a difference, complete and utter difference. Yet if you can't relate to that, that's cool. I'm not here to babysit you through explaining this to you over this podcast at this moment. Even if I am telling you the truth, because there's points, not that I'm lying, but if you're not ready to actually hear the truth, what are you going to do? You're going to keep persevering in the way that you have always done it, right? You're going to find a way to get back to your peace of mind, basically, right? Regardless if it's wrong to everyone else, it doesn't matter. If you're not using, then are you really doing anything wrong? Do I really have the right to God shame you, to say that your thinking is wrong? I don't. I don't. No one does. But that's how I interpret that no one can God shame you. No one can say the God of your understanding is wrong. Pfft, who has that right? No one. And so I will persevere through maybe your ability to criticize or whatever you think is fit to judge or justify. And we want to keep a recovery lingo of how you see how I see things. That is not my doing, and I do not need to keep that monkey going. It's not my monkey and it's not my zoo. I just get to dodge that poo. I'm just saying. I've done it my whole entire life. You know, does that mean I'll be alone and lonely? My intent isn't that. So how could it be that? You know, you get what you focus on. And yet, so simply to say, so my sponsee doesn't want to do the traditional 4-step inventory. Okay, you know that spreadsheet basically, the inventory, you know, that's not AA or whatever, World Service approved 4th-step aspects. It's not, and it's not, right? So me as a sponsor, me telling him this doesn't mean they get to get out of it. It just means I get to find a way, because they said, well, the ones that I would have to make amends to, I don't want to even talk to them. Okay. And you know, all this kind of stuff. And I've done the 4th-step inventory before, and I don't want to do it again. And it's like, okay. I also said, essentially, that I've never sponsored someone in the same way. I haven't. I've never sponsored someone the same way. You know, I went about it in similar ways, but I've never sponsored someone in the same way. I haven't. I have a notebook because, you know, being in a halfway house, essentially, you know, and me not wanting to hunt anybody down, I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to keep a notebook in the meeting area. Okay, here it is. Here are the steps. Go for it. Absolutely. You know, contact me when you want to. Every day or not at all. It's up to you. This is your recovery, but it'll probably help you if you do contact me on a regular basis. And yet, you know, simply to say, I'm persevering through this recovery thing, you know, giving freely what I have, right? Simply to say. And so, you know, and then another sponsor I talked to today too, they're like, because I was like, you remember when you said that you weren't going to do the steps until you did the court thing and you're done with it? And they were like, oh, I didn't say that. And it's like, okay, regardless if you did, regardless if you didn't, regardless if I'm just being clever, did you do any of the step work? And they're like, right. And then they attempted to, you know, defend themselves. I'm like, you don't need to defend yourself with me, right? I'm not the one to, essentially to say that you need to, you know, You're not eating from me today. You don't work for me. Why do you need to defend yourself? You don't need to do that with anybody per se, other than per se, to do the wrong thing, basically in a sense of saying, as before I really comprehended what climate change was and is, I was like, oh, you got to recycle, right? That's the right thing to do. And it's like, that is not going to solve climate change. That's not even a real thing. It's not. It's just a fallacy to mask and deceive, essentially, everyone into thinking, oh, it's all going to be okay, right? Oh, I trust them. And it's like, yeah. And that's why I know it's okay to be incompetent in society sometimes. It really, really is. I mean, it could be a double-edged sword, but what can't? What isn't? And what won't be? I would love to know the differences and have those things appear to me and let me choose. I'm just saying. And yet, simply to say, it's all about persevering. It's all about finding the level of peace of mind at that moment. Right? Let's reword that. It's about practicing the principles in all your affairs. Even though that per se means you don't do stuff in recovery and you're still practicing the principles in that affair, that action, that happening, that moment, right? More or less, simply to say. And yet, who knows? How do you persevere when all you have ever been told is that you're stupid? You're no good? What are you worth? You're not meeting society's standards, so you're not valuable. And it's like, okay, you can go ahead and keep on regurgitating how you've been told how to think. But me personally, when I went through the job of school, because, there's a difference of a job and a career. A career is a calling, something you enjoy doing, more or less. Usually more in comparison to the job, which is less of that, to the fact of you're just doing this because you need to eat today. You're just doing it to survive. And it's like, who in their right mind wants you to survive all the time, if at all? That's what? Oh, well, if that's how you find your value, okay, that's cool. I can't say you're wrong, right? Like, okay, whatever, that's your life. You do you. Don't force it down my throat if I'm not doing how you would do it, right? I even talked to somebody today, and, it was after the meeting, basically, that I chaired today, and they're talking about this other, meeting area, and how that meeting or whatnot, how they, collectively chant, basically, empower, from that meeting. Like I was talking to somebody else recently too, and they're like, well, on the East Coast, they don't clap. On the West Coast, they clap. And it's like those that, their experience was, I just said I wanted to die, and then they started clapping. It's like, what? Yeah. It's all read the room, group consciousness, basically, essentially. And yet, so I was like, they were the ones that were like, I don't get why they chanted that way. The first 4 rows, that's what they did. The back rows, they didn't do that. And I was like, well, if you like it, then you're probably part of the clique. If you don't like it, then you're probably going to see it as a cult. And, they went silent, and they were like, what? Somebody walked away. Somebody started looking away. They were like, I'm not even touching this wording at all. And it's like, but that's what it is. It is, right? It's the same thing as, you just totally being set in your ways and being so strict in your thinking of, oh, the pronoun thing, right? You want to be a different gender, you want to be a tomato, okay, that's how you're going to identify your pronoun today? Okay, well, That's cool. But in the sense of kind of highlighting this thing, of kind of going off of how it's okay to be incompetent in society sometimes, that's my pronoun. For those to those that are like, I like to be competent in society all the time. I like to give away all my sweat equity and um, essentially pay taxes on what I've already owned. Because isn't your time, you know, that you gave freely, that your pursuit of your happiness, why would you go ahead and give more of it away? So you have no free time now? Now you have no ability to do anything? Oh, okay. And then you're going to complain why the world is the way that it is, even, it's all voluntary. But nevertheless, regardless of that, I'm just saying there's points. There are points. And it's not that that isn't a thing. It's just, how do you, what was the word? Oh my goodness. Persevere, right? Oh my goodness. Yet, you see, that's the thing about perseverance. It's almost like highlighting what step 12 really is all about, considering, if you do read the spiritual principle a day, that's kind of what got was touched on, and reason why, because perseverance is trying. It really, really is. Is it not? Yeah, it pretty much is. And so, simply to say, how do you keep trying, right? How do you keep on trying to have hope when you are hopeless in body, state, and mind? And so, alcoholism. I don't, if you can't find unity in that of alcoholism, because I have not done enough, and I'm coming to a point of reading, the basic text of NA more and more, and yet simply to say, it comes to the simple fact of the matter of it doesn't matter what recovery flavor you're doing, right? AA, NA, CMA, whatever A it may be. It comes to the simple fact that it is all the same thing, right? Those moments of hopelessness, despair, anger, resentment, worry, obsession, it does not matter. It really doesn't. It's all the same thing. It really, truly, absolutely is. And that's why you got to be earnest. That's why you got to be honest and be willing. If you're not, that's okay. It's okay. That has nothing to do with nothing. It truly is okay. It really, really is. Simply to say, absolutely, it truly, truly is. And yet, it comes down to a simple fact of the matter, though. How do you keep trying? How do you persevere? It's up to you, right? There is a way. You just got to find a way. What principle are you going to practice in your affairs? Yeah, I'm sure that's AA. Because I talked to a very, very, NA Nazi that was like, I don't like N or AA at all. And it's like, why? Well, whatever word they said, or whatever. It didn't even, whatever, right? Because I was like, oh, you don't shut the door on the past. And they're like, oh, that's AA, isn't it? It's like, yeah, but isn't it generally, the sense of you, if you don't learn from the past, you don't learn from the past, or the past is going to repeat itself. What is the difference? Oh, because you can't find unity and perseverance through those words other than you justifying your hatred and your anger. Let's reword that. You can't find peace of a higher power, right? Sanity, serenity for that resentment because of your justified resentments, anger, justified how you want to, go ahead and condemn the message of recovery, that's ridiculous. It really, truly is. But that's how I see it. And it doesn't make it not ridiculous, and it doesn't make it ridiculous. It just, what is going on right now? NA was created based around AA stuff. And AA was based around, what we would call today celebrate recovery. Absolutely. The Washington Oxford group, in a sense of saying, was the first AA group. But not everybody, is it funny when it's called the Big Book and, oh, there's a God word, I don't like religion, right? Their first step was, we're all sinners. Okay. Okay. And yet, I'm just saying there are points to keep trying to persevere through every situation, every moment. You get what you feel. You get what you focus on. You get what you feel. I'm just saying. And yet, I love you. Give yourself a hug. Maybe it's the first time you get to have a hug today. And your shoes do fit just right. You do deserve to take up space. No one does have the right to God shame you. Because if you're not using today, what are you doing wrong? Probably nothing. Are you making progress? Well, that's even better, right? Absolutely. So, in keeping it simple, if you don't think that you're making progress, did you use today? Oh, then you're making progress. Absolutely. Right? Anywho, it's up to you. Go ahead and qualify yourself in a sense of, find your peace of mind. Find a higher power. Find your peace of mind. I love you. And thank you, God of my understanding, for being in my life, because what else do I persevere with? Oh, hope. Absolutely. Have a great moment of making it matter. I love you. Thank you.